Today on Classroom Dynamics.
Looking in the Lego Foundation's research around learning through play and looking of what STEM engineering lessons of it or research around it, the same skills you see when you learn through play versus what you want in STEAM learning. You want iterative design, you want collaborative projects, you want that interactive and that meaningful experiences. So I always say that there's a lot of that Venn diagram between learning through play and STEM education.
Welcome to the place where ideas collide. Adam Todd's here to be your guide. For teachers and techies, chasing the spark. Classroom dynamics, where we leave our mark. Let's dive in deep, the future's bright. Innovation shines like morning light. Teachers and tech, hand in hand we go. Welcome to the Classroom Dynamics Show.
Classroom Dynamics is sponsored in part by Logitech Education, empowering student voice and creativity with innovative tools like the Logitech Reach Adjustable Content Camera and the Zone Learn headset designed specifically for student comfort and focus. Discover how Logitech is transforming classrooms at logitech.com/education. Welcome to Classroom Dynamics, the podcast where we unlock the future of education. Hi everybody, I'm your host Adam Todd, and on the show today, we're building something inspiring as we imagine a classroom where science isn't just something you read about, it's something you build, touch, and bring to life. That's exactly what LEGO Education Science is doing for students across the country. In today's episode, we're diving into this innovative hands-on K-8 solution that turns science inquiry into an adventure of discovery, and we're not doing it alone. Joining us today is Joseph Sanfilippo, the Key Account Manager at LEGO for New York, to give us an inside look at how LEGO Education is transforming classrooms with engaging standards-aligned science lessons. So how do we take abstract science concepts and make them real? And how can we empower every student not just to learn but to explore? Well, stick around as we uncover the power of hands-on STEM learning and truly bring science to life as we get expert insight from LEGO Education itself. So let's build something amazing together, and it's all coming up next on Classroom Dynamics, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Classroom Dynamics is supported by Higher Ground Gear, featuring the Shuttle 3.0 CS laptop case. Built for students on the move, the Shuttle 3.0 offers 24/7 protection by letting you work directly out of the case. Just open it and go. Its sleek molded design keeps laptops cool, secure, and always ready. And with shock-absorbing corners for drop defense, a grip deck, corner straps to hold your device in place, and clean shell fabric that resists spills and wipes down easily to fight germs, it's protection that never quits. For more, visit hggear.com today.
Behind every successful student is a teacher who feels supported. At Catapult Learning, we partner with educators through coaching, collaborative professional development, and classroom-proven tools. Our programs aren't just theory. They're actionable, relevant, and built to make your daily work easier and more effective. With 45 years of evidence-based success, Catapult provides the guidance and resources that help educators grow so students thrive. Catapult Learning, empowering teachers, inspiring futures. Learn more at catapultlearning.com.
Today, we're thrilled to welcome Joseph Sanfilippo, the Key Account Manager at LEGO for New York, with a passion for hands-on learning and deep understanding of how LEGO Education is transforming science classrooms. Joseph is here to share insights on the impact of interactive STEM education and how you can make science more engaging, accessible, and meaningful for students. So welcome to the show. The last time I spoke to you was at the NICEGate conference last year, so I'm glad that you're actually here for a full episode all to yourself. So welcome.
Yes, Adam, thank you for having me. I always like to follow along with your different guests, what you like to present to teachers. And of course, as a former educator, director of technology myself, I have a strong passion for hands-on STEM learning, instructional technology. I guess it's a big part of who I am.
Well, this is going to be a great conversation for teachers because we're going to grasp that really hard thought process of how to wrap your minds around STEM education, because it's not really that all that easy for some teachers. Some teachers find it a little bit easier to jump into, and others find it very difficult to kind of incorporate everything into it. So we're going to get into all that today, and I hope that you learn a lot from Joseph. He's really good at bringing all that together for us. So let's start with that, right? Hands-on learning has always been a core part of Lego education. How does the Lego Education Science K-8 solution take that philosophy that we were just mentioning and apply it specifically to science instruction?
So yeah, so obviously Lego Education has had over 40 years of research-based efficacy around computer science, engineering, STEM learning through purposeful play. So the idea of making lessons meaningful, active, joyful, engaging, socially interactive to really drive the needle with students to have, purpose behind what they're learning. So now when you think about the new Lego Education Science solutions, first I'm going to talk about the why. So we've done a classroom engagement study where 66% of teachers believe hands-on science application is what is beneficial to students. And honestly, I don't think that's any surprise to most educators that, we're active learners. It's that same classroom engagement report discussed that 33% of science classrooms and students are not getting hands-on science activities. So that's the why. So we know that the students want it, teachers believe in it, because in Lego Education, we believe that hands-on learning makes science content stick. So if I'm doing something with my hands or, experiencing that phenomena, that natural world around me in science, that's going to make me understand the concepts better. So then the next step is we think of the standards, so NGSS and the idea of three-dimensional learning, that students are tasked with modeling and interacting with the science phenomena. And again, that's what makes the content stick. So then we design the solution with that in mind, and then using the proven framework, which all Lego Education lessons do, that 5E instructional design, that's how we bring it into the science classroom. So because of the nature of the hands-on of, the power of the Lego brick, which we all know, hands-on playful learning, it just makes sense to be in that science classroom and that science experience. Now, doing that and being hands-on, then the lessons that we create allow students to construct the arguments for evidence based on their own experiences. So they're not reading through a book and then regurgitating information. They're modeling gravity. They're building animals and how they eat or interact with each other. And then they're explaining what they did. And that's really how Lego Education Science hits that hands-on philosophy into science instruction.
And here in the United States, NGSS is the Next Generation Science Standards, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
And every state has some closer to NGSS, some not. New York State, where Adam, you and I are from, is a NGSS adjacent, I would say. There's some differences, but it is that core of NGSS standards. And I think all science standards do have that like modeling or that idea of hands-on learning as well.
Now, the program includes 120 curriculum-aligned next generation science standards like we just were talking about, even with those slight differences. And that's across different K-8 grades, correct?
Correct. So there's different sets. There's like a K2 set, a 3-5 set, and a 6-8 set that has 40 lessons within that. So then each set has various lessons on like the different domains that you'll see. So life science, physical science, earth and space science, and then of course engineering and design as well. Because with Lego, you're always going to build and change and modify something. And that goes back to that STEM concept, or that I'm a critical thinker, I'm a problem solver, I need to elaborate, change my tool, my model, and then explain the benefits of my solution.
So let's walk through like a regular typical science lesson with Legos, because everyone knows what a Lego brick is. All you had to say was Lego. You didn't even have to say the word brick. We all know, right? Everyone knows what that is. We all play with them when we were kids, and now they're being infused into this really cool program. What does a typical lesson look like? Not just the teacher delivering it, but also the kids.
Sure. So first, that's part of the idea of it, is that power of the Lego brick, it's a familiarity of tool that people use. So that makes it more accessible, where I know how to use this. So then we go back to that, what I explained, the 5E instructional design. And those are all of our lesson plans go. So it's engage. So first starts with a scientific inquiry to engage student with some type of phenomena. Maybe that question is, how do rattlesnakes defend themselves? How does a bird eat? How can salmon swim up a ladder? To kind of, hey, what is going on here? And then some type of story. So that story is some reading comprehension and saying, hey, a rattlesnake is there. It sees a predator, prior knowledge, predator and prey. How is that rattlesnake going to defend himself? Or, we live in a city that has a hurricane coming in. How do we warn the people in the city that the wind is at a certain capacity or something like that? So you got to hook and engage students in that scientific inquiry. Then they're going to explore. This is modeling the phenomena. This is typically where students get a build instruction. So they're going to build a rattlesnake. They're going to build a bunch of bird beaks. They're going to build something, and they're going to kind of play around with it and see what it does. Back to that rattlesnake example, they're going to build that rattlesnake, and they're going to have a controller, and it's going to make the tail shake. And then they're going to start asking questions, because in that explain process, well, what did you see? What happened? Well, when the tail shake, it made a sound, and then it would bite something, so the venom happens. That's the animal construct. So I've kind of modeled that science phenomena. If it's a physical science lesson, they're building like a kinetic energy kicker where they're having something hit other items, and depending the size of what they're hitting or the different blocks, well, what happens with the release of force or tension and things like that. And the students have to explain that. So now they're starting to explain what they saw. So that's that third E. Now they're going to elaborate. This is where it's that engineering design process. All right, you built the rattlesnake. Awesome. Think of another animal. Can you design an animal and how it defends itself? How does a poisonous frog with its bright colors, or how does something else? How does that, and explain that? So elaborate on. We had a bunch of bird beaks and they picked up different foods. Well, think about your favorite food and build a bird beak. So make a tool to eat that food. Again, now you've kind of done that engineering design process. You've elaborated on kind of going in next further. Maybe the lesson is about making a solution better that you had. So that Save the Salmon is a lesson where you have to there's a hydroelectric dam, and we talk about salmon swimming upriver, and you have to create a way for them to get upriver. What I do love about this lesson is when students research ways that humans have made for salmon to get upriver, there are ridiculous real world examples. So whatever the student does, it's not as ridiculous as what's already out there. But again, they're making something better. They're elaborating on that science phenomenon. And then that last place is evaluate. So this may be where in that lesson we give a writing prompt or write a list of traits and characteristics in your things, write a list of different animals and how they defend themselves. And that's something that we would suggest having students write down in their science notebook, maybe put to a discussion board in your LMS like Google Classroom or Schoology. Because if we think about when the students are going to be tested in state exams, a big part of that test is they have to show evidence of the learning and construct an argument. So that evaluate portion is extremely important to that lesson. So as a 30-second recap, we're always engaging that student with some type of question and scientific inquiry. They're exploring a model that we provide to them and how that scientific concept, that real world, that example works to them. And then they are elaborating and explaining and evaluating themselves and others of this is what I did, this is what I saw, this is how it worked.
So with all of that, how does it differ for students in elementary to middle or / junior high school, and then again in high school?
So it's a great question. The structure of the 5E design and the structure of the lesson plan doesn't change. The expectation of the lesson and what's being covered is what's changed. So think about back to that standards, the way the NGSS standards are grown that's in that scaffold approach that even though you're taking that exam in 5th grade, there's content that's covered in 1st and 2nd grade. So what you expect of the students grows as you go along. So there's lessons that kind of flow, even though they stand alone, they flow in some type of scaffold. So there's a K-2 lesson called Monster Daycare, and it's about traits. And really students just identifying traits and characteristics of the parents that pick up the different children. So thinking like heredity. And then in that 3 to 5 range, there's a lesson called Fire and Horns, where the students are actually building 2 dragons and then an offspring based on that dragons. Again, having a more deeper conversation of what traits and characteristics they see to create that dragon that has characteristics of the both parents. And you get into that middle school lesson, it's called Alien Not Alike, and it's about asexual reproduction and mutations where some traits cross over, but some things just happen and mutate. And those are related to the standards in those grade levels. So again, it's not necessarily that the structure of the lesson changes, We're still engaging students with that scientific inquiry. They're creating a model, interacting with it, changing, elaborating it, and then explaining and evaluating what they did. It's the expectation of what the content is that changes. You wouldn't expect a second grade student to talk about human engineering and selective breeding and genetics, but you might expect a seventh grade student to do that type of content.
That's really cool. Even the names of those are catchy. Just if you think about just the names of those units are really cool for a kid to like grasp
back to
onto.
like what Lego is, right? Like
Yeah.
we're fun and engaging. I mean, some other ones, there's one called Cow on the Roof, Chickens in Space. My favorite is actually Chicken on the Beach, because it's like, I live on the beach actually, and you don't bring a chicken to the beach. That's ridiculous. Right. Well, let's do that lesson. And that's supposed to be, again, that engagement factor for students.
It's engaging for the adults, I think. Forget the kids. I think the adults will love it. So we're just getting started. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, more with Joseph Sanfilippo from Lego Education. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Tired of drowning in paperwork? With Your Way Learning's AI-powered platform, you can automate lesson planning, grading, and parent communications while keeping you at the center. Our built-in chat assistant Beans helps craft differentiated, standards-aligned material in seconds. Fully customizable and grounded in learning science, Your Way saves time and deepens student engagement. Teach your way. For more, visit yourwaylearning.com. Attention educators, meet the Logitech Zone Learn, the classroom headset designed for learners and built for schools. Engineered for comfort and durability, the Zone Learn delivers crystal clear audio, helping students focus and fully engage during lessons, group projects, and online learning. Built to last, its modular design adapts to any classroom setting and ensures a reliable, distraction-free learning experience. With Zone Learn, your students can hear the difference, which helps boost learning. For more information, visit logitech.com/Zone Learn. Welcome back to Classroom Dynamics. Today we're talking with Joseph Sanfilippo of Lego Education. So let's continue where we kind of left off before. One of the key challenges in science education is making abstract concepts tangible for students. I think that's sometimes the hard part to get through. So how do the science Lego kits help bridge that gap and foster engaging, deeper scientific understanding for them?
Sure. So again, it is that hands-on structure that helps alongside that. I could read a book or watch a video or do something virtually about whatever it is. Yes, I might get the concept, but if I do that with my hands, that's going to bring the concept to more. So thinking of like an abstract concept, I mentioned that human impacts genetics and engineering. There's a lesson called Trait Selector, and students build a blender, and they have two flowers, and they talk about and have a discussion of what might be the desirable traits of those two flowers. Certain color, larger stem, bigger fruit bearing, whatever it is, and then they have to put those genes or traits in the blender, and then over time selective breed to create their flower. So it's Gregory Mendel Punnett square stuff, which something might take months and years of over genetics and stuff. They could do it in a few cycles because they're doing it quickly with some kind of hands-on component. Back to that idea of the fire and horns with the heredity. Hey, I see two dragons, these are their characteristics, and now I've made a baby dragon around the same thing. So some type of abstract concept I can kind of speed up because I'm doing that tangible process.
Right, and they're still just getting the bottom line basics of it for the understanding portion of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and because the way our solutions are, it's supplement to other curriculum, so it gives you that, hey, I might have talked about this or read about this, and now I'm doing that concept. I mean, things like gravity. There's lots of physical science lessons of like energy and gravity and making something not slide down a ramp. I could talk about it, but then we all know, Isaac Newton dropped the apple, saw it happen. Oh, like, what is this?
Now let's now go into another realm of this. So another layer, let's peel back another layer. Collaboration. Collaboration is huge, and project-based learning is huge. And this, of course, is going to lend right to it. So being that it's so big a focus in STEM learning, how does the program encourage teamwork and also those problem-solving skills in the classroom? And, more specifically, what happens to allow the kids to then mirror the outside in the real world and bring that into the classroom?
Let's think about how our lessons are designed again, or actually the physical design of the boxes. The box is 4 students per set. So by nature, you're working in a group of 4. Now, how we've written into some physical hardware, as well as the lesson of how do you force collaboration. Now, we all know teachers are going to set roles. You're the timer, you're the modeler, whatever it is. we've given 4 colored minifigures. And we also know that students love minifigures. So there's a blue, a red, a green, and a yellow minifigure. In the Lego instructions, the physical instructions, which I think we are all used to seeing Lego instructions, it says blue builds this, yellow builds this, red builds this, and green builds this. So back to that rattlesnake. I might be building the tail as blue, you might be building the head as green, and then the next page, we have to put it together. So I've done my own part, my ownership, and then I have to work with the team to make sure the model comes together. So it forces that type of collaboration.
And that's real world right there.
Exactly.
That's really real world right there.
Then the next part is when you're doing that elaboration part, when you're changing the model, maybe you're breaking students into pairs. So it's just baseline there. Now, how the lesson itself aligns to real world solutions, every lesson has a part where it shows real world examples. So I've talked about that lesson with the bird beaks. There's a part where it now shows pictures of pelicans and a shovel. It's a tool. And that student created a tool for a function. And we see how some animals might have things that function like tools, or some tools like a shovel might be mimicked off an animal, like a pelican's beak. But then a lot of lessons around humans impact our environment and sustainability. So we talked about that Save the Salmon lesson. Part of that lesson is talking about, well, like we have this hydroelectric plant, which messes up the migration of salmon. Well, is the hydroelectric plant important? Let's have that argument, yes or no.
Right.
That's what that is. There's a lesson that's, again, I live by the beach. It's called Beach House Builder. And you build a model that has a little like wave action, and it like hits bricks away, and then the house falls into the sand. And I'm sure a lot of science teachers have bought that sand, that plate to wave interaction. Well, we've modeled what erosion happens. Now I want you to create a solution to stop the waves and to stop the house from falling into the sand, things like that. So again, real world implications, and then the students have to defend their solutions. So that evidence of this was my idea, here are the merits of it, here are the drawbacks of it, and again, evidence of what I physically did and having to explain it. So a lot of lessons have those type of tie-ins. There is a lot of like human impact in their environment lessons, which again aligns to what the standards ask for.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's bringing in that engineering aspect of it in different angles, and then really having them speak and talk to it, which is hard because look, that is higher order thinking. And if you can start to bring that into the Lego play, kind of hands-on portion of this, you're not only just learning the standards and learning the topics and all the information that goes with it, but you're kind of immersing yourself into it. And you really are taking that perspective of what that person would have to do in a real world situation.
No, absolutely. It's those soft skills you say, or, again, we're in New York State, that portrait of the graduate, right. That critical thinker, problem solver, looking in like the Lego Foundation's research around learning through play and looking of like what STEM engineering lessons of it or research around it, the same skills you see when you learn through play versus what you want in STEAM learning. You want iterative design, you want collaborative projects, you want that interactive and that meaningful experiences. Right. So I always say that there's a lot of that Venn diagram between learning through play and STEM education.
And just the conversation. I've done a lot of STEM things with the kids, and just like kind of being that fly on the wall in their group, not really interacting, but kind of just listening. The conversations that they have sometimes are so amazing that you almost can, you sometimes can sit there and just shake your head and go, wow, that's pretty good. That's really cool. Like what they're saying is so on point. They're so into it. And that's the point of it too, right?
No, absolutely. You're the teacher, you're the facilitator there. Right. You're supposed to direct them. They're supposed to discover their own path. And that's what you see with STEM education and learning through play.
Right. And I think that's what you just said. You hit it right on the nail, right on the head. If you can facilitate that and have the kids learn on their own and discover on their own and figure it out on their own, you have done wonders.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we're going to take another quick break. And when we come back, we'll wrap things up with Joseph from Lego Education. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back right after this. Are you juggling lesson planning, grading, and keeping students engaged all while running out of hours in the day? If so, Brisk is here to help. Brisk is an AI-powered education platform that supports teachers, students, and schools at every stage, from planning and instruction to feedback and practice. The best part? Brisk works wherever you are. The Brisk extension brings support into the tools that you already use, and the new Brisk Next web experience gives you a hub for planning, bundling resources, and sharing assignments with ease. With Brisk Boost, most safe AI for students, you can create interactive charts like debates, exit tickets, and character conversations that deepen learning. Ready to try Brisk? Go to briskteaching.com, click the Get Started button, and install the extension. Plus, enjoy 3 months of premium features free at brisk-teaching.com/Adam-Todd today.
Looking to spark excitement in your classroom and save time? Head over to Highly Motivated on Teachers Pay Teachers. From engaging lesson plans to creative lab books and test prep tools, these resources are designed to inspire learning and take the planning stress off your plate. Highly Motivated, motivating teaching resources that engage and inspire. For more, search Highly Motivated on Teachers Pay Teachers today.
Welcome back to Classroom Dynamics, where today we are talking all things STEM and Lego education. So let's get into the educators who want to really, they heard what we were talking about. They really want to get into it. How do they integrate Lego education science into their classrooms? What kind of support and training, resources, all of that they're so thirsty for? How does that become available to them to make them successful?
Sure. So first, the way we design the solutions is, and I don't say this term always, like that idea of out of the box. Like, you have the box, you have that, and that teacher portal gives you access to facilitator notes, classroom slides, evaluation rubrics, prior knowledge needed, all these things that, hey, I can go in here and I've got a lot in front of me. I don't think that's obviously where everyone could start, because sometimes you need more, and we offer those resources as well. So when you go through the teacher portal and things like that, there are asynchronous getting started videos, just how some of the hardware works, videos about discussing the purpose of the lessons for the educator, so they get that scientific inquiry. But then there's more robust teacher resources through our customer enablement on the education.lego.com website. Things like standards alignment to your state standards, to different crosswalks of curriculums. Upcoming in a few weeks, I'm doing a New York State science exam where we look at all the questions from the last 2 years of exams and what Lego lessons cover the same topics. Those are all resources available through our team, through customer success, on the website and things like that. Then, of course, we have robust training that's in person and virtually from Lego certified trainers, classroom educators that use Lego education to kind of not just training, like here's how you open the box, here's how you turn it on, but professional learning and professional development. Now, how do I use this set to lead with scientific inquiry? How do I become that facilitator? How do I understand the methodology of the 5E lesson plan design? So from as little support as you need, hey, open the box and go, to, so many educators out there, forums, professional development, webinars we do that are available for educators as they need them.
Because I know there are going to be teachers, I want to do this, but I'm scared to start because I don't know how high the mountain is to learn it. But if you're getting the support, even if you start small and do something with it, it's something that you could actually run with later on if you start to pick it up with that.
Yeah, make it tangible for yourself. And I think with any STEM education, any science thing, I work with a lot of schools, and this is really what I do on a day-to-day. Hey, what lessons are you teaching? What standards are you addressing? Oh, here are the Lego lessons that cover that same standard or topic or objective. So you've done heredity in your classroom, you've done animal constructs, you've done kinetic and potential energy. Here are the Lego lessons that do that. Because then they see, oh, I teach that topic. Here's a resource for me to do it. So besides just knowing how to do it, or how to use it, where does it sit in my curriculum?
I like when teachers, I go to, like, if I even myself, I'll go to a professional, oh, wait a minute, I teach that. And then all of a sudden your ears perk up and you're like, how can I make it better? I want to do more. Sometimes you just want a little bit more.
I guess the teaching profession is an iterative design as well. I've been teaching this lesson for 8 years.
Now I want to do something different with it. Yeah, exactly. Well, especially how things sometimes, even with technology, technology sometimes comes into play that wasn't around 8 years ago when you started that lesson, perhaps, but now it's available. And now you really can take a whole step up that you didn't or ever could have imagined back then.
No, that's exactly what I was going to say too. You had something, you wrote this lesson plan 6 years ago. A tool didn't exist at that time that exists now. Right. And a tool will exist 6 months from now that didn't exist today.
100%, especially with AI and how fast that goes, huh?
Absolutely.
So Lego for Education Science is definitely redefining the way we teach science, bringing hands-on inquiry-based learning to classrooms everywhere. Huge thank you for joining us today and sharing how these innovative tools not only spark curiosity, but they also bring in the collaboration, which I think all teachers look for. Before we go, tell everyone where they can go to find out more about the Lego Education Science program and how they can get started.
Sure. You can find us at education.lego.com. Of course, any social media, Lego Education, if you want to follow us there as we share our webinars and videos and such like that. And hope to hear from you all, and happy learning.
Well, for those of you who have been listening today, thank you for tuning in, and make sure that you share what you've learned or any takeaways or reflections that you've had, and tag us on X at Class Dynamics or Instagram at Classroom Dynamics Podcast. You can also find out all of our links, including information about our sponsors, on our link tree at Classroom Dynamics. We always look forward to hearing your thoughts on our episodes and sharing the different ways in which you're using what you've learned. You can also help support Classroom Dynamics with as little as $3 a month at Classroom Dynamics podcast.buzzsprout.com. Once again, I'd like to thank Joseph Sanfilippo for joining us today on Classroom Dynamics. Thanks for the time. This has been so informative, and I'm glad that we had a chance to actually get deeper into some of the STEM work that Lego for Education is doing.
Absolutely. Thank you, Adam, for having me.
Well, that's a wrap on this episode of Classroom Dynamics. I hope today's conversation sparked something meaningful for you, maybe a new idea, a fresh perspective, or just a little boost of motivation to take back to your classroom. Remember, it's never too late to strengthen your craft, and if there's ever a moment to re-energize your work, why not make it today? I'm Adam Todd, and you've been listening to Classroom Dynamics, a teacher podcast. Follow us on X at Class Dynamics and on Instagram at Classroom Dynamics Podcast. If you haven't already, go to your favorite podcast platform like Apple Podcasts or Spotify and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. We'll be back soon with more captivating conversations, inspiring stories, and strategies that you can implement into your everyday routines. Until then, keep that spark alive and never underestimate the incredible impact you have as an educator. You're more powerful and inspirational than you think. Did you miss our episode, How to Spark Curiosity and Creativity in STEM Education with At My STEM Space? We were joined by Australia's own Louise Barbatello, who shared how hands-on learning and real-world problem-solving transformed her classroom and inspired the next generation of innovators.
Baby steps, I would say, one step at a time. Ask for help. There's probably someone in your school that is quite knowledgeable in this area, or even online. The online space is amazing. Instagram, I'm on Instagram, and there's so many STEM teachers that I'm connecting with that I'm learning, and I'm learning from them. To be honest, they've helped me grow. There's so much online. You just got to be open to the new learning. That's the thing, be open to it. Look, the children are actually really good at STEM, especially the technology side. I've found throughout my STEM career, I've been starting younger with those skills that I thought they couldn't do.